Hi, this is Remembering the Past with Corey Franklin, the show where we talk about people who died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. We're going to start out tonight with Tony Musante, who died recently at the age of 77. Tony Musante was a TV and a theater actor, Northwestern boy, and he's best known for his role in the 1970s detective series Toma, where he starred. It was one of those great Stephen J. Cannell productions. We did Stephen J. Cannell in one of our first podcasts 2 years ago. Toma was based on a real-life New Jersey policeman who specialized in getting drug dealers. He was one of those hip type of guys. Sometimes he'd have a minor role in the series itself. Tony Musante was very good as the detective, the archetypical 1970s type of guy, but he left the series to go to Broadway. He never regretted it. The series was actually pretty successful, and it was remade a little later on as Beretta with Robert Blake, sort of the same character. Here's a little bit of the theme song from Toma, starring Tony Musante. That theme's by Mike Post, and Pete Carpenter's got the 70s written all over. I'd like to talk about what I feel is Tony Musante's greatest role on television. It goes back a decade before to 1964, one of his first TV roles, and it showed how good television actually could be at times. Check these names out. It was an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents where he adapted a story by Harlan Ellison. It was an autobiographical story where Harlan Ellison, who had dropped out of college, went to Brooklyn to write about juvenile delinquency. He actually did this about 10 years before in 1954, so it was somewhat dated, but it was still extremely powerful. He actually did try and join a gang called the Barons in Brooklyn. Hitchcock's adaptation stars a young James Caan as the Harlan Ellison character. This is his first television role. Let's see, gang member, he went on to do The Godfather, and writer, he went on to do Misery. His name here is Jay Shaw, but he uses the same alias that Harlan Ellison did as Phil Beldone. The gang leader Tiger is played by Walter Koenig, who went on to play Chekhov in Star Trek a couple years later, and he and Harlan Ellison became fast friends. Tony Musante was the warlord of the Barons. All three of these guys do a great job acting. Tony Musante especially should have won an Emmy here. And Lynn Loring as the gang's Maul also does a very good job. The story is called Memo From Purgatory. It's one of the best episodes of Alfred Hitchcock ever done, and it was a true tour de force, especially for Tony Musante. Here is Hitchcock taking on Harlan Ellison, taking on the 50s problem of juvenile delinquency. And that's Tony Musante giving James Caan a hard time before Walter Koenig intervened.
I had finally made it to New York to become a writer. With $300 I'd saved from working in a lithographing shop, I had quit Ohio State University and come to find out if the streets of Manhattan really were paved with gold. For me, for Jay Shaw. I decided to write a novel. It was to be about juvenile delinquency. If I could get a new view, a truthful view, from the inside, I was going to join a kid gang, but not as Jay Shaw. I was going to become Phil Beldone, delinquent. This is a street in Brooklyn, in the section called Red Hook. I had taken a room in this neighborhood, $7 a week. I shared it with the Roaches. They say Red Hook is 1,000 times worse than Hell's Kitchen. The police walk their beats in pairs. But this could just as easily be back of the yards in Chicago or 105th Street in Cleveland or KC or Pittsburgh. And what happens here happens there. I had bought myself a gravity knife on Times Square, and I practiced long and hard with it. I was ready to enter the turf, the territory of gang rule. I just moved down the block and I heard around you gotta be a bar to be any good. You got a name? Cowboy? I heard the one to talk to is called Tiger. Someone asks you a question, cowboy, you answer. My name's Phil Beldone. Oh, hey. Well, you got a tiger here, I talk to myself. Oh, you talk to me. I don't know. No, that'd be the same thing. Ha ha ha. Everybody freeze. Don't push him. I'm Tiger. Look, man, I didn't come here to bop. They said get to the Barons, so I'm ready to go through channels. Now go ahead, cowboy. But then we'll talk about you going through channels. And looks like your face.
That's my vice president, man. I take it badly anything happens to him.
You think how badly he'll take it?
What do you want?
You tell King Kong over here to lay up the blade. Huh? And then you and me, we go someplace and we talk like people.
Are you gonna let this thing dump on you? Shut up, man.
I don't want no trouble in here.
Okay, Beldone. We got a truce.
You got a thing coming to you, cowboy. take it up with my agent.
Tony Musante, good actor. And if you ever get a chance, check out Memo to Purgatory. Well, as long as we're talking about cool guys, we're going to close tonight with Chico Hamilton. Chico Hamilton died recently at the age of 92, and he was one of the cool jazz drummers from the West Coast. We've talked about East Coast versus West Coast jazz. Chico Hamilton was West Coast from LA, but he eventually migrated out to New York. I'm going to let him tell his story and play a little bit of his music. Played in some movies, and he got a start in the movies in 1941 in a Fred Astaire movie called You'll Never Get Rich, where he's the drummer during Fred Astaire's tap dance scene.
How long are you in for?
Brother, I don't know and I don't care. I'm a man that's in love. Yes, sir.
My name is Forrest Thorne, Chico Hamilton. I came up in a time when the people who invented this kind of music, created this kind of music, were on the scene. It was the only kind of music there was. You didn't have to be able to read music. If you had a good feeling, if you could swing, keep a good beat, that was it. Illinois, Buddy Collette, Jack Kelso, Ernie Royal, Dexter. We all went to the same high school, Jefferson High School, we come out of jail. One thing about LA, the school system, from grade school, you had to take some sort of music, some type of music. Was it singing or whatever, an instrument or something? It was a compulsory from grade school. I originally started on clarinet because my best friend Jack had a clarinet. And it took my folks, man, almost 2 years to raise $2 so I could rent one. And in the meantime, my older brother, Orion, his name was Orion, was playing drums in the school orchestra. And when he graduated from grade school, I just figured, hey, well, since he's my brother, I must try to play the drums too. So I sat down and I started playing. In the meantime, Harlan Ellison was living in LA at that time. And he used to do all kinds of things. Play on the wall, the floor, all over the place. And I started imitating him. I won an amateur contest with a piano player by the name of Chewy Reyes, who became very famous. With that $25, I had a shoe shine box, nickel a shine. I go out every Wednesday, every Saturday. I stay out every Saturday till I made myself $1. I took all that money and my mother let me buy my first set of drums. And I still have that drum.
That's it, everybody. Now here's a boogie-woogie, solid beat. Come on, you dancers, on your feet.
Joe Jones was the drummer with the Count Basie Orchestra. Joe Jones was my mentor. Joe Jones changed me completely. Not only me, he influenced just about every drummer that was on the scene at that time. We talked just about every day, but we never talked about drums. But I got a drum lesson every day in talking with him, talking about life. It's always been a melodic instrument to me. I know how to get a sound out of it. And I maintain a triad, 1, 3, 5, chord, do, da, di, right? As long as you get 3 different tones. Jazz and young black people have nothing in common. Young black people don't know or don't realize that jazz is their heritage. This is one thing we gave this country. Young black people don't even know who Duke Ellington was or who Count Basie was. 12 tones of love. You see, there's 12 tones in music, which means there are no bad notes. There's nothing new about a melody, the melodic structure of a composition. The only thing that's different, that can possibly be different, is the rhythmic articulation. It's the rhythm that you put down underneath whatever melodic line that you have. Spiritually, I'm definitely a believer in God. And I attribute everything I do is because God's will. Like music is one of God's will, and God's will be done. I don't know what it's like with other people, but when you write music for somebody, for a film, production, if they want you to give up a note, you give it up. If you're writing for yourself, you don't have to give it up. I don't write music for people. I compose music for music's sake, and all music should be played extremely well. All types of music, because it takes all types of music to make music. You see, there's a very thin line between music and noise. You have to figure that out for yourself for a specific reason. what may be music to you might not be music to me.
Here he talks about Charlie Mingus.
Charlie and my wife went to Sunday school together, right? Charles was always a confused young dude, man, even as a kid. He'd do some strange things. We were in Oakland playing a dance, and I'm taking a solo, drum solo. He goes backstage, man, and gets a hammer. Comes back and hammers on the bass where my drums are. Banging a hammer. Oh, man, Charlie was something else.
Here's his Tea for Two with the great Hungarian guitarist Gabor Zabog we played with. Here he is at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1989 with his flutist Buddy Collette on My Funny Valentine.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps some of you might recognize this melody.
He also played in a couple of pretty good movies.
I'd hate to take a bite of you. You're a cookie full of arsenic.
Sweet Smells to Death. It was a good film.
Burt Lancaster, Tony Curtis, and the Chico Hamilton Quintet.
All of a sudden, I was in showbiz. I didn't know anything about showbiz before. And being in showbiz, your life changed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much on behalf of the quintet. Chico Hamilton, Fred Katz, Paul Horn, Carson Smith, and myself.
I was in England working with Lena Horne, me and my quartet. And I was doing a movie with Roman Polanski, which was Repulsion. So I spent all my days out on the set with Roman and the nights playing with Lena. He was the hippest director I ever worked for. He never forgot why he hired me.
And he went on to teach at the New School of Jazz in New York City, and here's some of the people talk about him.
Jazz is not a subject you just come in, you read the book and you learn it. Now I know how to play jazz. It takes years, and it takes doing it. You know, and Chico has been doing it for many, many, many years.
Chico Hamilton's place in the program at the New School is special because he is one of the individuals who has written the performance history of jazz.
The hippest thing about the New School is the fact that all the instructors are pros, are professionals in their craft. It's what I do. I've never done anything else. My first day of teaching, I realized that this could be some way for me to get something back to music, my craft, because music had been, and is still, very good to me.
At the beginning of every class, every new semester, he doesn't say a word. He just sits there quietly, but before all the students walk in, he writes on the blackboard, "Leave egos outside!" Exclamation point.
Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer, Sid Tepson. You can tell that Chico Hamilton played with just about everybody who was an important jazz figure in the second half of the 20th century, and he helped promote the careers of a number of important jazz musicians, including guitarist Jim Hall, saxophonist Eric Dolphy, and cellist Fred Katz. As the man said, leave egos outside, exclamation point. He was always quick to give credit to others, and that's how we're going to close tonight, with Chico Hamilton giving credit to others, and then with a little drum playing of his own. The guys he mentions here, they weren't too bad.
Cole Porter once said, "The beat, beat, beat of the tom-tom." And Duke Ellington said, "It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing."